and welcome up to the stage the coach of the Adelaide Footy Club, Mr. Don Pyke.
You could put an ocean between our love. It won't keep us apart. You could put an ocean between our love. It won't keep us apart.
Good evening and welcome to this year's Club Champion Awards. Been an interesting year, fair to say, and I want to start by just saying we're all people, we're all humans, and we're all good people. Let's remember that. Last year after the grand final, I spoke about an opportunity lost. And I spoke about a focus on continual improvement with our group to try and create another opportunity. And now, 12 months on, unfortunately, we don't get to participate in this year's final series. And reflecting on what has been a disappointing, frustrating and trying season in which we probably struggled to consistently play 4 quarters of what I call Crows footy. We had some great wins. As Rob, our chairman, alluded to earlier. And some great wins against some great opposition who are participating in this year's finals with some challenges from a player availability viewpoint. But unfortunately that was mixed in with too many losses, which leads us to where we are. From a reflection viewpoint, it's important we acknowledge we made some mistakes. That's what humans do. In our drive to improve in our program, both in our physical and our mental side, in hindsight, seeking gains, maybe we pushed too far, and that I regret. However, from these mistakes, we learn, and that's allowed us to refocus in the last half of the season and finish 6-3, and to plan for our program going forward into 2019. So if I summarise 2018, it's pretty simple. As Rob said, we underperformed against our own expectations. And I know that everyone in this room will be extremely disappointed at watching the finals kick off next weekend. But that should act, and I know talking to the players, as a key driver or motivator for us for next season. Because fundamentally the people in this room and the players in this room are the same players who were in this room last year having taken us to a grand final. And I believe in those people, and I trust in those people. And I know that those people are resilient enough to respond and return back to playing the sort of footy consistently that we're able to play for parts of this year and a lot of the previous season. So before I go on to 2019, I'd just like to talk a little bit about some thank yous and some farewells, as Rob mentioned. Firstly, thank you to the players. I love coaching this group. They're a great group of young men on a wonderful journey together, and to them and their wives and partners and families who give great sort of sacrifice towards the job that we do, which is a fundamentally selfish pastime to pursue excellence at a football level. So to the players and those people, thank you. To our coaches and their wives and families, again, who put countless hours into preparing players and preparing game plans, coaching, catching up with players, has an impact on their families, and I appreciate all the time that you allow your men to have. And to my coaches and analysts, thank you for your time and support and care throughout the season. To our high performance team, our doctors, physios, trainers and the like, again, all excellent people, wonderful to be part of our group, and I appreciate what you've been able to do this year for us. Our recruiting and welfare, again, do a great job. Our executive, in particular Andrew Fagan, for his support throughout the year. Brett Burton for his ongoing support as well. And our board for their unwavering support of myself and our program. And to Rob Chapman and Mark Rasciuto for their guidance and at times sage advice around our operation and how we're going about things. Also to our football admin staff who do a lot of work in the behind the scenes to make sure that we can get ourselves organised from a logistical viewpoint and from an operational viewpoint. to those guys. I really appreciate what you're doing. And lastly, but not least, to my wife and daughters who are both here tonight, for their support, for their care, for their love, for the season that's gone and for always. Love you all dearly and great to have you in the room tonight. Thank you. The final thank you goes to our sponsors, goes to our members, goes to our supporters, the people who are passionate, the most passionate people about our club, that love our club, that are there, rain, hail or shine, who are there when we travel interstate. I think our supporter numbers when we travel interstate are as good as any club in the AFL. And so we see all those people and we appreciate the responsibility we have to behave and to act in behalf of what your wishes are. And hopefully this year, whilst we're not playing finals, we still make you proud. Now some farewells. Some people at this time of the year, it's difficult because you have to say goodbye to people. And some good people leave us this year, unfortunately. From a player's viewpoint, Sam Gibson, Kirtley Hampton, Harry Deere, Ben Jarman and Jackson Edwards. Always a difficult time of the year. The best time of the year is when you give a guy his first jumper. The hardest time of the year is when you have to either delist someone or say goodbye to someone who's given us wonderful service. So to those 5 young men, thank you for your commitment, your professionalism and your attitude towards our program and your time at the club. And I wish you all the best for future careers. To our coaches, a few moving on, and Tate Koesler, Josh Franco and Ryan O'Keefe. All fine men with wonderful values. Moving on for a variety of reasons, but to them and their families, we wish you well. And I appreciate the time, the care and the input you've had to our program in your time here. And I, again, hope all the best for you into the future. And lastly, in a high-performance viewpoint, to Rohan Hatatua for his guidance as well as his care and support for our players and his time as a physio. So to all those people, thank you and all the very best in the future. So that's where we've been. Where are we going? 2019. I sat down early in the week and I had a look at my board and I had a look at the magnets on my board and a big smile came across my face. Because I looked at the available talent we have as a group. And I looked at what's the possibility and potential of this group to return ourselves to being one of the powerhouses of this competition. And it's real. The players can feel it, we know it, we need to do the work, but it's there and it's real. So the first thing first for us is let's get a break. It's been a difficult year. Been a trying year for people. So we can refocus, re-energise, get ourselves back and ready to go. And I know the players are heading off to all parts of the globe to enjoy time with each other and with their family and friends, and that's important. Important we do that so we actually come back with a real spring in our step, ready to attack that first day of pre-season. Secondly, why am I excited? And I'll tell you why. Because when I look at our season this year and I look at the opportunities, what we've been able to develop, I know it stands us in great stead for next season. If I look at our backline, the emergence of Tom Doedee, the development of Wayne Miller to take another step, and late in the season we saw Alex Keith come in, as well as the continued high performance of someone like Rory Laird and Luke Brown. In our midfield, we introduced Hugh Greenwood, plays 22 games for the first time in a season. Well, I met Hugh 2.5 years ago. He was sort of just come off paddling the boards at University of New Mexico, and here he is now completing a full AFL season and playing in a way which we know will help us create winning in big games and has done already. Cam Ellis-Yeoman coming back off a knee recon, playing more games this year than he had in his career prior. A young man that's really taken great strides, not only as a player, but as a person in our community. And Paul Seedsman, who had a breakout year and stepped up and played some outstanding footy for us, as well as the addition of Bryce Gibbs. Down forward, we see Geordie Gallucci, a guy we drafted 2 years ago, come in and play a lot of games of footy, and towards the end really started having impact on the game. Introduced Lockie Murphy off the rookie list, a great story. At this time last year was just out there training his ass off to see if he could get a spot on the list. And he comes in and he plays a number of games and he plays to a really high standard and knows at the end of the year he's a better player than he was at the start of the year. Look forward to his development. Miles Paholke the same. And Darcy Fogarty, we saw as a young man we drafted at Pick 12 last year, comes in and gets a taste of what AFL footy's about. He now knows what's required. He walks out of the room and understands on his break and what it looks like for him to take the step to be the player he wants to become. And the emergence of someone like Josh Jenkins, as we saw with the leading goal kicker, but his presence in the game grows and continued to grow throughout the year. And none of those players sit in our leadership group, or what you might classify as our core group, but that's why I'm excited. We're going to see the return of Brodie Smith and Brad Crouch. We're going to see the return to full health of our two senior leaders in Rory Sloane and Tex Walker. And you put all those magnets on the board and go home and do the exercise. See how you go picking your first 22 to play next year. And that internal competition will drive standards and will drive our behaviour and will drive the way we train to get ourselves back to playing consistent winning brand of footy. Now, interesting on reflection, you look at 12 wins and the tsunami of negativity is real, isn't it? When you look out there. But 12 wins for the year actually puts us in a reasonable spot. We're not that bad after all. It's often easy to be swept up in that wave. But I know right now, the doubters and the negative people out there don't know the quality of people I'm working with. They don't know the quality of the young men that I'm fortunate enough to coach. And through adversity, you have three choices. You can let it define you, you can let it destroy you, or you can let it strengthen you. And I know which one we'll take. So right now I sit here, unlike others who see obstacles, who see things in the way, all I see is opportunity. All I see is a chance for us to move back to where we belong. And sport can be a cruel teacher, as we found out. The line between being there and not being there is pretty fine. A goal here, 2 goals there, 5% here, 10% there. That can be the difference. But it's also a great teacher. Because if we learn those lessons and we can apply what we've learned this year into next year, away we go. But there's no guarantees. That's also the beauty of sport. The reality is we face going back and working and returning on day one of pre-season, refreshed, ready to go and ready to take on the challenge ahead to return ourselves back to where we want to be. So when we do get back, we remove the negativity, we're positive, we train hard, we're bold, and we get ready to create the next opportunity, which is right there for us. At the moment, it's easy to see what people want us to see, which is the negative. Doubt ourselves, question where we're going. I have real clarity of where we're going. And I see this year as one of those things which has just come up, which is there to challenge us. It's there to find out what we're made of. And through that adversity, that's what will create the strength. Before I finish, I'd like to quote a somewhat philosopher in Nick Cummings, aka the Honey Badger. And Nick said, believe it or not, I did watch the first episode of The Bachelor. I was in transport. Interesting man, that one. And he said, I quote, "You can get through anything if you hit it with pace." We're going to hit 2019 with pace. Come along with me. Thank you. Have a great night.